Well, I had come out of college and I was practicing law in '46 in Fort Lauderdale. Judge Tedder told me I was the 50th lawyer ever to be registered in this county, which I can believe because we were very, very small. Lauderdale had 30,000 people at the time. It was just a small town. Oakland Park was a village. It was about a mile square. And anyway, what had happened was that there was a lot of political infighting between the Stevens, Bill Stevens and his brother on the one part, and Dewey Hawkins and his people on the other part. And there was always that problem between them. I say always, at that point it was. And I got a call one day, Mr. Delegal wanted to see me. That's the father to the twins. So he came to my office. I was a struggling lawyer at the time. And he said, got a problem. I'm being prosecuted. And the judge, we're in a change of administrations, and I'd like to wait until Dewey Hawkins is mayor because they knew each other. And the mayor was the judge. At that moment, Bill Stevens was the judge, I guess. Well, we waited it out, and Dewey Hawkins was elected over Bill. And we talked about the problem with Mr. Delegal had was that he had built what he called an underground bomb shelter. It was that bomb scare because of the Russians having now obtained the atomic bomb. So he didn't get a permit, and somebody took a warrant for his arrest. And so I went in, and the judge was Dewey Hawkins. And we convinced the judge that it really was a bomb shelter. It was not a septic tank. You didn't have to have a permit for a bomb shelter, but you did have to have a permit for a septic tank, and that's what was the problem. They were claiming that Mr. Delegal was really building a septic tank. Well, it was a pretty good size. It was as big as this room. It went down 8 feet or so, and it was really too big for a septic tank. Anyway, he got acquitted. And Mr. Hawkins, Mayor Hawkins, was impressed with me, and about a month later he called me up and said, "We need a new city attorney. Will you do it?" And I said, "Of course I would." One of the things that they wanted done, previously when Jack Bell was city attorney, Dewey Hawkins had gotten legislation through John Burwell, a county a member of the House of Representatives. He had gotten legislation through to get all the property that bounded on the east side of Oakland Park all the way to the shoreline, to the beach. And Jack Bell was city attorney at the time. And Mr. Galt, who owned all that property, Arthur Galt, obviously he did not want to be part of Oakland Park. So he went to court and he hired a law firm, Fleming, McCune, Hyson and Fleming, and they had a couple of hearings, and I think it went in their favor. The city was kicked out and told that they couldn't continue to have jurisdiction over this property. And it went to the Supreme Court of Florida. And it was rather amusing because the chief judge wrote the opinion, and he said you can't make a city out of an apple orchard, meaning Oakland Park. Of course, there was no apple orchard. But anyway, we were kicked out. Then I got in office as city attorney, and within about, let me think specifically, 1950, I believe it was, the legislature, we got John Burwell to pass another bill taking in the same property under the same circumstances again. Well, this infuriated Mr. Galt. So I was, being city attorney, I was given the job of trying to win a case that the Supreme Court had already said 2 or 3 years previous that you couldn't win. I got a call one evening from Steve Calder, of Coral Ridge Properties. They had just formed a corporation. And he said, you know, I got a deal to make with you if you can get Dewey Hawkins to go along with this. We just signed an intent to buy all of Mr. Galt's property for $20 million. And Steve said, but Ted, we can't make the deal. We will not buy it if Oakland Park insists on having jurisdiction, taking it in their city limits. If you can talk Dewey Hawkins and the council into it, we will let you take the property all the way to the federal highway. But you have to exclude the northwest corner. There was a round building going to be built, or was maybe, I know, they wanted all four corners. They wanted that for four. And part of the deal was they had already decided this and had already talked to the city attorney and the city commission of Fort Lauderdale that all of this property from the federal highway all the way to the beach, from Oakland Park Boulevard, or from Sunrise Boulevard all the way to Oakland or 50th, it was a big piece of property.
Okay.
All of that would become Fort Lauderdale in stages. So I called up Mr. Hawkins and I told him what the story was. And I said, if I were you, I'd take it and run. And, he said, I'm not so sure of that. I think we can do better than that. I said, well, maybe you can. Well, I can go back and talk. But he seemed to be pretty sure of himself that they're willing to go to court, go to the Supreme Court of Florida if necessary. And I think even they won't have to do that. I think Judge Tedder down here is going to rule against us anyway. So I met with the council a couple times, and we kicked it around, and Dewey was really intent on... But they finally gave in, and that's what happened. Oakland Park was many times bigger than what it was. Now it wasn't a village, it was a city.